Hi, you guys. I am going to try to make Eggnog Magic Cake for the first time, and hopefully we can get this done before the puppies wake up. Okay, so Eggnog Magic Cake, and I'll post the recipe. I'm going to use unsalted butter to butter an 8x8 baking dish. And when you have a recipe that says butter the dish. Don't use nonstick spray or whatever else you might be tempted to do. Butter the dish. In this case, I'm using unsalted because the recipe itself calls for unsalted butter, so I thought I should not. And it's sweet. It's a sweet, so I decided not to use regular butter. Okay, so we'll just set that aside. These little vinyl gloves, by the way, are your best friend in the kitchen for messy things. Okay, now I've got my oven preheating to 325 degrees, and I have store-bought prepared eggnog, and I've warmed it to lukewarm. And it says here, combine. Okay, so we're just going to set that aside. Now we need egg whites and an 1/8 teaspoon of vinegar. So here are my 4 egg whites. And I'm going to add an 1/8 teaspoon of vinegar, which helps hold the peaks when you beat egg whites. So 1/8 teaspoon, which doesn't seem like much, and it's not, but okay. So this is going to be a little noisy, and probably later on I'm going to edit the video to maybe take some of this part out, but I'm going to beat this. It says whip eggs with a mixture, highest speed till forms stiff peaks. So using our little 1-cup prep bowls, which are awesome to get everything lined up ahead of time. While that's going, I'm going to just read the next step here. In another bowl, we're going to use the egg yolks and sugar. So I've got 1.5 cups of powdered sugar and the 4 egg yolks that I separated earlier. Stiff, as in they do not move. Okay, see that? All right, we're going to set that aside for a minute. Now I have my 4 egg yolks and 1.5 cups of confectioner's sugar. When you do this, start slow so that you don't plaster powdered sugar all over your kitchen. And then I've got melted butter. This is 1 stick of melted butter that has cooled almost too much, but you don't want it to be warm. But you also don't want it solid, of course. And we're going to be drizzling this in on top of the sugar and eggs. I know you probably cannot see that, but I'm just letting it go in very slowly. So, okay, Mix on low speed till fully combined. I'm going to try to show you, you can kind of see what it looks like. No lumps, no bumps. Be long. Okay. So, you're kind of learning this recipe at the same time I am. All right. Egg fully combined, add the melted butter, mix on low speed. Okay, add the flour very gradually while mixing to allow the flour to integrate with the rest of the batter. So I have flour. It's 1 cup of all-purpose flour. If you still sift, that's fine. You don't have to sift, but go ahead and whisk your flour, or if you're using other dry ingredients like baking powder, baking soda, put them in there and whisk it, takes all the lumps out. Okay, and then I'm just going to add it gradually using a spoon in here, and on low. Okay. Now we're going to, this is rum, which I had to go to the liquor store and ask if I could buy a small bottle of dark rum. And the guy looked at me funny, and I said, well, I only need 3 tablespoons. Apparently he didn't know what a tablespoon was because he grabbed this big bottle. I said, no, a little bottle. So, okay, rum and the vanilla to the warmed eggnog. So we need a teaspoon of vanilla. If you're baking or cooking, please use real vanilla. Mix it up because some of it settles sometimes. So I'm going to go ahead just for ease. I'm going to add the teaspoon of vanilla directly to the rum. And then I'm going to add it to the eggnog. That's too big. Let's use the little one. Mix it in here. Then we're going to keep the mixer running on low speed and trickle the eggnog mixture in, allowing it to incorporate. I'm going to scrape some of the chunks off of the beater here. can tell you already it smells really good. Okay. It says here, note, by the end, the batter will be very watery and should be, so don't worry. Okay. Then, by hand, fold in the egg whites 1/4 at a time, stirring to combine. Okay, we're done with the butter. Let me just... make sure we don't have any lumps and bumps in here. Which we do still have some. So I'm going to mix it up just a little bit more because I've got some solid pieces here. I want it to be all nice and smooth. It is very liquidy, so you're not going to be able to go very fast with your mixer. Okay. So it's, as you can see, it's quite liquidy. Okay. And we're going to fold in the egg whites. It says 1/4 at a time, so I'm just going to take one glob. And folding is just super gentle stirring. I wish I had like a paid cameraman to hover above. You want to keep a lot of air in there. So whenever you have a recipe that calls for folding in egg whites, you're going to end up with chunks. You're going to see it's not going to be fully incorporated. It's going to stay kind of curdled almost looking. If you don't happen to have 2 bowls for your mixer, you can always put your egg whites in a separate bowl. They'll hold up if you're careful, and then use your same bowl for the rest of it. Okay, so and then pour into the prepared pan and place in the preheated oven for 50 to 55 minutes, at which point I'm going to hit end and come back to show you the rest. So you'll see as I do this how it's not completely incorporated in there and there's still chunks of egg white. Can you see that? Probably. Okay, so I'm putting this in the oven. Oven's at 325. I'll be back in about 50 to 55 minutes. See ya. Okay, I'm back. It's been hours and hours, but the Eggnog Magic Cake Came out of the oven. It had to cool for at least 3 hours before we served it or cut it. In the meantime, I've made 3 apple cream pies. I just took a pumpkin pie out of the oven, and I have yeast roll raising that I have to shape here in about 17 minutes. So let's take a look at how this turned out. It's supposed to have some kind of magic layers, and we will find out. So it's feeling kind of spongy. Oh, look at that. So can you see the layer? There is kind of a apparently custardy layer on the bottom. So let me set this aside. Use my awesome powdered sugar shaker. And a fork. I'd love to share with you, but you'll have to take my word for it. Okay, that's a keeper.